Next up, we got what made growing up in the 1970s so special. Now, I told y'all I want to get more into learning my history, learning about the past. We've been watching a lot of old, nostalgic NBA players, NFL players. But now we need to see what was it like even growing up in the 1970s in general. You know, I wish I could be somebody who grew up in the late 1900s, you know what I'm saying? 1970s, 80s, 90s. Like, that was the peak time of life. From 2000 on up to now, it's terrible. You know what I'm saying? I literally hate growing up in today's time. So let's check out what made growing up in the 1970s so special. Hit that like button, hit that sub button.
If you grew up in the 1970s, chances are you had a very different kind of childhood from what kids have today. In the days before helicopter parents, playdates, and participation trophies, there was a generation of kids who grew up with less supervision and more self-reliance.
Wow.
While our parents contended with gas lines, political turmoil,
Well, I'm not a crook.
and economic crises, we were riding our bikes with our friends, often miles away from home.
Wow.
We roamed the streets until dark, returning to homes filled with lead paint and secondhand smoke. Over the course of a 1970s
Wait,
childhood,
he said that's what the house smelled like?
we roamed the streets until dark, returning to homes filled with lead paint and secondhand smoke.
Lead paint and secondhand smoke. So I see cigarettes was pretty normal back then. And he said lead paint? Was the paint not that good?
Over the course of a 1970s childhood, we were going to make some questionable choices, take some risks, get scraped, scratched, and sunburnt, leaving us with both scars and memories we'd carry for a lifetime.
Wow.
Please join me for a return to the days when Tonka trucks were made out of metal and Lego sets didn't require instructions, only imagination. Please join me as we take an authentic look back to see what growing up was really like for kids in the 1970s.
Alright. Safety first. What
Kids
is that?
today are harnessed into booster seats until they're 10 years old and are expected to put on helmets before they get on a tricycle. Let's just say that the generation of parents who raised us were a little less safety conscious.
What is this?
To start with, most of us came home from the hospital wrapped up in a blanket on mom's unbuckled lap. As soon as we learned to crawl, we'd be climbing back and forth over the seats and making ourselves comfortable wherever we felt like.
Wait, what?
Instead of drop-down video screens and iPads, we amused ourselves with the radio buttons, window cranks, and ashtrays. Learning the hard way.
Was the babies in the front? Wait, am I tripping?
Whatever we felt like. Instead of drop-down video screens and iPads, we amused ourselves with the radio buttons, window cranks, and ashtrays. Learning the hard way that the cigarette lighter can still be very hot, even if it isn't still glowing red. If your family had a station wagon, sitting in the cargo area was like riding around in a playroom on wheels. Although our families...
Let me know in the comments, how many of you guys had a station wagon? I've literally never been inside one, but I would get in one for sure.
The rear-facing third-row seat. It
What?
did have a power rear window, which my mom was happy to roll down if we asked.
Wait, hold on. This is kind of crazy.
It did have a power...
It's like 3 rows. It's like a bus that's not a bus, but then also it can turn to a truck because there's still a lot of space. Look, you see how they sitting? They have a lot of space. They're chilling. It's a lot of space. I'm pretty sure the trunk is open, but this is like a bus inside of a car. What? It's so much. And where's the seat belts? What the?
Rear window.
I don't see no seat belts.
Happy to roll down if we asked. We then proceed to hang out the back, making faces at the cars behind us as we inhaled the leaded fumes drafting back up from the exhaust. If your family didn't have a station wagon, you could always stretch out and relax on the back window deck, watching the telephone wires rise and fall against the sky as they sailed past those endless miles of wooden utility poles.
Wow.
While it would be considered outrageous today, on long car trips, it was the perfect place for a kid to take a nap.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Us 70s kids...
So my question is, because you gotta think about it, the parents that grew up in the 70s, right, 80s and 90s, those are the parents that's our parents, Generation X or Generation Z. So how did y'all grow up in not such safety times, and then now as our parents, we are like overly safety precautions and all these things. Like, I'm confused. You know, you would think that the way y'all grew up would be the way that y'all would teach us to grow up, but I guess not. I don't know. Let me know in the comments, why is that?
Now, us 70s kids learned at a young age to value our freedom. We dreamt of the day we could finally drive a car, with most of us lining up to take our road test the day we turned 16.
Okay.
Until that day, we contented ourselves by playing with any toy we could find that had wheels on it.
Wow.
And there were plenty of options. Family trips to Kmart sometimes led to a treasured new Matchbox or Hot Wheels car that we could race across the kitchen floor or through loops and jumps on those orange segmented tracks. You might park your cars in the Fisher-Price parking garage, the one with the crank-up elevator and the loud bell, or maybe rolled them down the ramps to the multi-level Hot Wheels service center.
Wow.
There were SSP racers, which you'd power by yanking a plastic zipper cord to get the metal flywheel spinning as fast as possible before letting it loose down the sidewalk.
Okay.
This was the same way you powered smash-up derby cars, which were also from SSP. The Evel Knievel stunt bike was powered by a hand crank built into the launch ramp, and the bendy little Evel Knievel action figure always managed to hang on and stay upright no matter what the terrain.
Yo.
We had electric train sets, slot car tracks, Tonka trucks for the sandbox, speed burners that we'd race across the kitchen floor, and penny racers. And the girls weren't left out. Not only did your sister's Barbie drive a Corvette, she had an RV and dune buggy to boot.
Yo.
But even better than the toy cars were the ones you could ride.
Now this is one thing I definitely do wish it was more of nowadays, is being outside with your friends and actually touching grass. You know, a lot of kids, especially nowadays, I think it's Gen Alpha. I think that's what's called. Gen Alpha, which is, I think, 2020, like 2010 to 2024 or something like that. I just looked at a chart. But everybody who was born past 2024, from then on, not on for the next like 10 years, those people are not going to be outside touching grass. They're on iPads, iPhones. You know what I'm saying? They don't even go outside. They don't even have friends outside in general. They don't even know if they even have neighbor friends. You know, me personally, I didn't have that. I didn't have friends who was living in my neighborhood. So because I was outside. I was an outside kid. Me growing up in 2002. I had the best of both worlds, because it was still like 1990s almost, you know, because it was only 2002, not that far. So it was still like I had to, you know, I could go outside and stuff, but at the same time, technology started advancing more and more as I was growing up. You know what I'm saying? So I basically got the best of both worlds. I got technology and I got to go outside. But kids in growing up past 2024, GG, all straight iPads. And by that time, I ain't gonna lie, it might be like not even cool to be outside. Think about it. It might not even be socially acceptable to go outside and touch grass. That's how the society is looking right now, bro.
Our favorite role model, Evel Knievel, the life plan of were the ones you could ride. Thanks to our favorite role model, Evel Knievel, the life plan of every little boy growing up in the 1970s was as follows. 1. Get a bike. Preferably a Schwinn Stingray, and if possible, the top-of-the-line crate model with front and rear suspension, disc brakes, and a 5-gear stick shift on the
See, now this makes sense. You know, when I watch this, you know, and it reminds me of my parents, and it's like now I see the things that they say and do. I understand why. You know, first of all, this is called the lemon pepper. Anyways, though, but I remember when I was first trying to get a bike when I was young, and we walk into the bike store trying to look at bikes, and my dad like, yeah, you got to get a Schwinn. The Schwinn is the best. You got to get a Schwinn. And now I understand why he say that, because I was wondering like why he's like, what made you, why is Schwinn the best? Like why? Like how do you even know this? You know what I'm saying?
Get a bike.
Now I see why. This is like the top of the line back in the day.
And if possible, the top of the line crate model with front and rear suspension, disc brakes, and a 5-gear stick shift on the crossbar.
What?
2. Learn how to ride said bike without training wheels. And finally, 3. Become the hero of your neighborhood by riding over a record number of garbage cans, other kids, or maybe just a big stack of flaming cardboard boxes.
Okay, let me know in the comments. Did y'all do this? Let me know in the comments, please. What?
Of course, even evil had to start somewhere, and so did we. You
Big
may
wheels.
remember rolling yourself in circles between the hand-operated wheels of a crazy
Never
car,
seen that before.
or steering into impressive spinouts, gripping the steering levers of a green machine. There were pedal tractors, pedal cars, and those janky homemade go-karts we hammered together with scrap wood and old lawnmower
That's
wood.
actually some outside
But
stuff.
for many 70s kids, myself included, our first taste of real self-propelled freedom was found behind the bright yellow handlebars of the original Marx big wheel. Our big wheels ran on pedal power, fueled by imagination. And thanks to all the cop shows we watched, our imaginations had plenty of scenarios to work with. And of course, if you were big wheeling with a buddy, you just needed to decide who's gonna be Ponch and who's gonna be John.
Ponch or John?
Introduced in 1969 and made in Pennsylvania, the Marx Big Wheel reigned as the king of America's sidewalks from the early 1970s through the mid-1980s. And while a version of the Big Wheel is still available today, it's just not quite the same as it was in the 1970s. With so many families moving out of the cities and into the new suburbs that were sprouting up far outside of the metro areas, many of us found ourselves living in neighborhoods right on the edge of large tracts of land that were still undeveloped.
Wow.
Eventually, all of these spaces would be turned into new subdivisions.
$15,000? What?
Eventually.
For what? $15,000 for what? For what? A piece of grass? It's no way. $500 down? Bro, what is going on, dude? So this is perfectly explains inflation. So back in the day, houses, you could buy a whole house for 15 bands. What? Look at it. Look how good that house is. For 15 bands. $500 down. Now, let me know in the comments, how easy was it to obtain $500 a month? Right? And it says the FHA loans. Yep, that's the same people. That's crazy. But let me know how hard it was to obtain $575 a month, right? So let me give you a context on why I'm so interested in this. So I was just having a debate with somebody, social media, right? Social media has all these stipulations and all these sayings, all these hidden rules and stuff right there, all unspoken rules. So an unspoken rule is, you're supposed to get out your mama house at a young age, right? You don't want to be in your mama house at, they say by the time you turn 23, you should be basically moving out. You know what I'm saying? Maybe 25. That's what they say. But we could say that, back in the day. I was saying we could say that back in the day. Like, in these times where houses was 15 bands. Now the average house is $100,000. Easy. And then you have to have $1,000 a month, right? But you have to make 3 times the rent. Okay, so not only do you have $1,000 a month, but you have to make 3 times that, and then that's only for the rent. That's not no other utilities, no other food, subscriptions, nothing. You know what I'm saying? House or no, your car note. You have a kid. Like that doesn't include none of that. So I was saying, how can you say somebody has to move out their mama house so young when nowadays, it's so hard to even live on your own. Even people who have stable jobs are still struggling. So what do you think of some little kid, some little teenager is gonna be able to move out in the early 20s? How could he move out so easily? You know what I'm saying? So I was just trying to say, like, how I'm asking you guys, how easy was it to be able to get this type of money back in the day? Right? It says right here, builder pays all closing costs. $475 down, nothing down, $100 per month. What? How hard was it to get $100 a month? Let me know in the comments. How hard was it to get $100 a month? No, I'm gonna look it up. You gotta look it up. How hard was it to get $100 a month in 1970? Here we go. Let's get some research going, bro. Oh, they got a money info. Look at this. Look at this. Getting $100 a month in 1970 was relatively easy for a full-time worker, as it represented 15 to 20% of average worker monthly pay. However, it was a significant amount of money with high purchasing power. Okay, equivalent to roughly 800. Dang. Okay, so that's almost $1,000 today, making it enough to cover a substantial portion of monthly rent. Okay, this might be another. Oh, here we go. So this might be another video we can watch. There we go. I knew it. I knew it. This might be another video we can watch. But we might save this video, okay? This might not watch it today. You know, what could $100 buy you in 1970? So this is what I'm saying, okay. Full-time work. The average American annual income in 1970 was around $9,000. This translates to about $700 a month or $180 a week, meaning $100 could be earned in just over half a week's of labor. Minimum wage. The federal minimum wage at the time was $1 per hour. God damn. Yo, that's kind of crazy. Let me know in the comments. Is this true? Do you remember it being $1? A full-time minimum wage for 40 hours a week will gross around $200 a month, making $100 easy to attain but requiring roughly 62 hours of work. Okay. So you definitely can do it, but it's going to cost a little money. Okay. All right. It makes sense, you know, because that's also what I was going to say too is, you know, even though the money, like okay, you know, gas prices is $5 right now, right? Now, back in the day, gas prices might have been $1, but to y'all, $1 was like the end of the world. Like $1. You know what I'm saying? Like, $1 might have been like the same thing. So maybe the times are still the same. It's just different numbers, if that makes sense. So to me, $1,000 a month, $3,000 a month is crazy, right? It's kind of hard to obtain, but back then maybe $100 was hard to obtain. You know what I'm saying? But they say it's easy attainable. But let me see how worth today. About $800. So that's what I'm saying. So they said $140, right? $101 per month. Okay, $100, $101 per month. That's $800 in today's time. To make $800, that's about full time, right? That's about full time. I can't. How much is $800? $843 in today, or how easy is it to get $843 today? Getting like $843 is very difficult unless you have it in savings or a paycheck releasing today. There's no instant risk-free rate. Okay, we know that obviously. To make. That's the wrong word. Make. Oh, and wait, in 2026. There we go. Making it for a very achievable and usually takes about 1 to 3 weeks. The exact time depending on the effort you put in. For example, standard minimum wage earner in Michigan takes about 60 to 70 hours after taxes. What? So you gotta work 67 hours, the same thing, while side hustle can hit this at just a few days. Traditional part-time work, what it is. Picking up a local part-time job or doing shift work, effort about 60 to 70 hours per work. So it seems like my thing is wrong, okay? It seems like it's the same thing. 40 hours rate, roughly 600 hours, 62 hours a week, which is actually insane. So, you know, yeah. So let me know in the comments, which do y'all agree with what I said or what?
All of these spaces would be turned into new subdivisions or future roads. But until that happened, us kids just referred to these areas as the woods. Depending on where you lived, your woods might be hiding old rail lines, rock quarries, or even long abandoned houses. Some of these areas had been untouched for decades, so you never knew what you might discover out there.
Wow.
You could be out in the woods hunting the ponds for turtles and tadpoles and come across old tires, ancient washing machines, old car parts, and sometimes even old cars.
Wow.
Of course, Thanks to the new houses that were being built everywhere, there was always a ready supply of scrap wood that we scavenged to build hideouts and tree forts back inside.
Wow, people actually
Over
built
time,
stuff?
these little shacks would come to house small stashes of mismatched beer cans,
What?
near empty packs of cigarettes, and various weather-worn issues of a popular magazine published by the late Hugh Hefner. You could be out exploring the woods all day, getting into all sorts of potential trouble, but as long as you made it home by dark, your parents never seemed too concerned about what you had been doing, or even inquire much as to where you had been.
Wow. It's kind of crazy.
All of your first friendships started with the other kids in your neighborhood.
See,
While
told you.
these may not have been the same kids you'd hang around with at school, your neighborhood friends were just a doorbell away. That's all that mattered when you were putting together a game of street hockey or backyard baseball. By the way, does anyone else remember what you did when you saw a moving van getting unloaded into one of the houses on your street? You and your friends would just walk right over, ring the doorbell, and ask whoever answered if there were any kids inside who wanted to come out and play. The thing is, neighborhoods were just more neighborly in the 1970s.
Facts.
And as a neighborhood kid, you were pretty much welcome to run around and play.
So let me know in the comments. When you walk outside, right? You just walk outside 1970s. What are you going to see? In your neighborhood, what are you going to see?
You wanted, as long as you weren't causing any trouble. Back then, we were taught to be responsible for our own actions. If you got hurt doing something stupid on someone else's property, your parents weren't going to go sue the property owner. They'd just patch you up and tell you to be more careful next time. Back in the days before social media made everybody antisocial, people just seemed to get along better with each other. They actually knew a lot of their neighbors. I remember one summer when one of our neighbors got a permit from the city to shut down the street for a block party. That day, families up and down the block hauled their picnic tables, folding chairs, charcoal grills, and coolers out into the street. While the adults drank beer and socialized with each other, us kids took advantage of the chance to ride our bikes, big wheels, or roller skates down the middle of the closed-off street. While words can often fall short of expressing what something truly felt like, great music can sometimes help fill in. This next one is...
Hey, man, let me know in the comments if y'all want more videos like this. Hit that like button, hit that sub button. Also, comment down what videos y'all want me to react to next. I love y'all. Ali go!